Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Vidi for those of you who are new here. Today I have something that I have not done in over a year and a half now at this point. As you all saw on the title and the thumbnail, I joined a pole studio. I do have my notes on my iPad so I don't go off topic too much because this is a very long story. Basically, the points that I'm gonna go through is kind of explaining what my strengthening journey is, starting pole, my kind of progress throughout pole, the bad things about it because I like to start off with bad news and the good things about it, and just overall my goals and the updates that I have towards the end of all of this. If you are new here, I want to say back in 2022 or 2021, something like that, I started a strengthening journey, and that's because I was fluctuating back and forth between weight and was focused too much on weight loss and wanted to go through this whole weight loss journey because I was used to being a very specific body type my whole life, and post-grad everything changed. The pandemic hit. I was just not in the best place. I was focusing a little bit too much on my body and how I viewed myself and how others viewed me rather than focusing on what my body could do. Eventually, I decided, you know what, this is not healthy. My weight fluctuates way too much for it to be normal, and I just can't keep up with like unhealthy habits and diets and stuff like that. I'm going to switch my mindset to wanting to become stronger, wanting to just be healthier, a healthier version of myself, because I come from a family with a lot of diseases and diagnoses, and I don't want to get to a point of my life where these hereditary diseases and illnesses may affect me in a negative way. So I just want to make sure I am at the best health that I could be as I get older to avoid some of these illnesses that may or may not pop up in my life. My first strengthening video, I believe was the Caroline Girvan one, doing a challenge, and I was very impressed with myself, and it made me very excited to see muscle growth and see how much stronger I was, rather than like, yeah, I was excited to see that the weight loss as well, but it was very exciting to see how much physically stronger I felt. Eventually from there, I believe the second video was kind of starting the gym. I had been going on and off to the gym before that, and eventually I committed to a gym membership and started going to the gym and started doing weightlifting. Rather than focusing on doing cardio or just like focusing on abs and booty, I really just did a whole routine of chest, shoulders, arms, back, legs, glutes, focusing on all the different muscles and not just the ones that are aesthetically pleasing to people. Eventually, I did my 6-month update, and then I moved on to something I was curious about. I wanted to see if I can do a marathon. I actually ended up signing to a half marathon first, which that was my third video, and I wanted to see if I could just do it. Like, it's just something that got in my head because I did not enjoy running, but eventually I realized running was a really good stress reliever, and I started to enjoy it a lot more. So I signed up for a half marathon, intending to sign up for a marathon, but ended up doing the half marathon. Showed my whole process of that, and then my last video was doing a full marathon, and a very challenging one at that for my first marathon because it had a time cutoff and the elevation was not beginner friendly. So it was not a beginner friendly marathon, and I am very impressed with myself that I went through that because again, I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do stuff like this. So eventually the strengthening journey slowly became less about like how I looked and more about, can I overcome this challenge that I put myself in? I did tease that I wanted to try something new, and here we are over a year and a half later, and I can finally tell you all what I've been doing. I decided to sign up for a pole class, a beginner pole class, because I have never done it before. I was in between doing either pole or aerial silks. I just wasn't sure. Mostly I started thinking about joining pole because I miss dancing, I miss gymnastics, I miss cheer, but I also wanted to try something new. I could have maybe signed up for gymnastics again, some kind of gymnastics class, or even a dance class. I could definitely have signed up for one of those, but I really wanted to try something new and something that would challenge me, so I did pole. Why it came down to pole and not aerial silks is because the pole studio was much closer to me. It was on the Washington side, not the Oregon side, so it was a lot closer to me. That is mainly the reason why I started pole, because it was just conveniently located to me. Moving on to my next point, which is starting my pole journey. Like I said, I was lonely and I wanted to try something new, so I decided I'm going to start a pole class. As some of you may or may not know, I used to live in California and I moved to Washington. I have absolutely no family here. All of my friends are back in California. Literally, I think it was the second week I had moved in. I was just like, I need to get out of the house because I work from home. I have no friends. I have no reason to go out except to walk my dog. Like if I did not have a dog, I probably wouldn't leave my house. So I signed up for my first pole class. It was a beginner pole class. I went into my first pole class and I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into. First pole dancing class. Let's see if this actually sticks. It was definitely very challenging. It was very confusing at the same time, like where I had to put my hands, where I had to put my feet. I did some of the most basic moves. I think my first class I learned how to do a fireman spin. They were practicing something called Jasmines and I had no idea what it was, how to do it. It was just really confusing, but it was so much fun. My first instructor was very encouraging. I was with this instructor for 6 months. It's funny because that first class, there was this one person, she was wearing heels and she was doing all these amazing tricks and I'm like,
whoa, am I going to be doing that in this class?
She was just doing a regression class, so she was actually very much advanced and she just needed to take it easy, and that's why she was in that beginner class that day. But it was very intimidating but also very inspiring because I'm just like, okay, that is really cool. I want to try to do something like that in the future. I remember I left my first class and I was so bruised and so sore. My legs hurt so bad. My thighs rubbed real bad. I was just in so much physical pain, but I was so happy, like so happy. I was so excited. It's been about an hour after I have taken my first pole class. I suck so bad, which makes sense because I've never done this before. Of course, I have no basic foundation, nothing, but it was so much fun to just try and do all these things that like I can't do yet. My body's gonna hurt tomorrow. The instructor was like, take some ibuprofen, take some magnesium, take CBD if you're into it. I'm like, I feel good, I feel fine. I might be a little bit sore tomorrow. No. This soreness, like yes, it's muscle soreness, but the pain is different. Like I can't explain it. Like the back of my knees, I've never had that pain ever before in my life. And right now that I'm cooling down, I can feel like other areas in my body where like my skin or like my body touched the pole starting to ache. That's just how it's going to be from now on. I am in so much pain, but I'm having so much fun. I'm so excited. I came home, I told my boyfriend all about it, and I'm just like, yes, you know what? I'm going to commit and I'm going to sign up for the 6-month contract because that's a monthly subscription rather than just like paying for a package. I did it. I signed up for the 6-month beginner contract. The studio that I go to does not do series classes like other pole studios do. If you don't really know what that is, basically a series class is where they teach you, for example, if it's a beginner class, they're teaching you some basic pole moves for the span of 6 weeks. And it's a repetition class. So this is the stuff that you will be consistently working out for those 6 weeks. So that would be a series class, right? And then eventually you go from beginner to beginner 1, beginner 2, beginner 3, right? So that would be like a series class. My camera is dying. Hold on, I did not realize that. Let me switch the batteries really quick. Sorry. So as I was saying, my studio does not have series classes, but I actually like how it's set up because at least with the instructor that I was in, she would teach the same moves for the whole month. So you'd start learning something new at the beginning of the month, and then by the end of the month you'd be a little bit more hopefully proficient at that point. You'd understand the mechanics of it a lot better at least. So that's kind of how it was, and that's how it was for the 6 months I was in this beginner class. It was really fun. It was very fun. I started to make friends, I started to get into this community, and I was just really happy. So moving on to my progress with pole, I reached my 6-month mark, and something that really helped me throughout my journey and currently right now even is that I did have a background in dance and gymnastics. I already had a lot of body awareness, while when you don't have that background, you have to learn some basic techniques that your body's not used to. So when someone tells you rotate your hips, what does that even mean? Or point your toes even. That's something that people normally don't do unless you, again, had a background with it. So because I did have a background in dance and gymnastics, it made it a lot easier for me to understand moves. And eventually at that 6-month mark, I realized I was starting to grasp these moves a lot quicker. Because of that, everyone starts somewhere, so you do not need any kind of background at all, but that made it a lot easier for me to understand. So eventually I reached that 6-month mark and I decided I really want to start progressing now. I want to start learning a lot more than just beginner stuff, and I want to start eventually getting at some point where I go into more intermediate moves. So I decided to do another 6-month contract, but rather than a beginner contract, I did a contract where I do 2 classes a week. So the beginner one was once a week and it was only beginner classes. This new contract was 2 classes a week and I can choose any classes that they had basically. I started doing 2 classes a week, and I started to incorporate doing beginner and eventually moving on to beginner and low intermediate, and then doing flow and float classes just to start building my strength, and eventually moving on to inversions. So inversions basically means going upside down on the pole, and inverting tends to be a little bit more of a high beginner, low intermediate skill just because it takes a lot more work and it's a lot more challenging for someone who just starts from like nowhere. At this point, I also started to realize, hey, I am currently still going to the gym. I'm still doing some training, but now I want to really focus on cross training. I want to focus on doing moves and calisthenic moves even that will help me in pole, because cross training is really helpful. Let me turn on some light. It's getting a little dark in here. So I started to train a little bit more where I knew these moves would benefit me a little bit more in pole when I went to the gym. So like I mentioned, I ended up, I think maybe at my 7th month mark, I started to invert, and then I started to transition into high beginner, low intermediate classes. I decided I wanted to focus a little bit more on inverting, so I started doing more inverting classes. And I also wanted to do a lot more dance classes because I miss dancing, and flow and heel classes were so much fun. And it was a good break just having an aerial class and then a flow class. It was just kind of the perfect balance. I just started to feel really good about myself at this point. I've learned a lot of more moves at this point. Now it's just kind of piecing them all together, and the thing about just doing only aerial skills is that it's hard to piece them all together if you don't have that flow class that helps you kind of learn how to transition yourself and work on smoothing your transitions and stuff like that. Eventually, I think I want to say in end of August, early September, which is at that point my 10th to 11th month mark, I bought my first pair of heels, and then I started learning how to dance in heels. And these heels are huge. If you've never seen pole heels, they are like huge. I believe mine are either 7.5 or 8 inches tall, so they're really tall. And my fear of heels was that I have very weak ankles, so I ended up getting boots to help support my ankle. Once you start getting used to them, they're not that scary actually, and my calves have grown. I have a lot more ankle stability and they're a lot stronger now, and it's just been a few months since I started using them. I don't use them all the time because I'm more of a contemporary style person and I really like to dance in socks, but sometimes when I'm feeling a little bit extra confident or a little bit more sensual, I want to use heels. Yeah, I eventually got my heels, and kind of getting to the year mark, I am a lot more fluid when it comes to transitions. Obviously in the harder moves and the harder tricks, I am very choppy. It doesn't look that pretty. I do still struggle a little bit with inverting. I need to smooth it out. I need to remember to raise my hips, but I have gotten so much stronger. My shoulders are really strong. Yeah, I eventually got to my 1-year mark, and seeing the before and after videos, seeing how much I've improved is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about like my pole progress. It's been really fun. Moving on to the negative parts of pole, because I like to start with bad news first. So one of the negative things about pole is that it is an expensive hobby. Studio time, instructor time, all of it adds up. Even if you're just doing an open pole class, that adds up. If you're just using a studio space, that adds up. It is an expensive hobby. Another downside is that it could be very dangerous if you're not careful, if you're not smart, if you're not responsible with what you're doing. If you are not sure about a move, you really need to just ask for help. Ask for a spotter, ask for a crash mat, because it could be very dangerous and you could really hurt yourself. You can really get injured with this. When I first started inverting, I pulled a muscle in my back, which I had never pulled before, and it felt really weird and it took time to heal. I've hurt my hip flexor, which does not feel the best. It really affects the way you walk. And I've heard of like many other injuries. So the injuries can be very drastic if you're not careful. You really need to be careful, you need to warm up properly, you need to be smart about it. And another downside that I feel like a lot of people go through, and I've gone through it as well, is it's very hard not to compare yourself to others. And this goes with everything. It's very hard to not compare yourself to others, and it's something that you really cannot do, because it doesn't matter if you go in as a complete newbie and this other person starts the same as you. The same day, complete newbie. It doesn't matter, because it really depends on your backgrounds and your level of activity before even stepping into a studio. Like I said, with me, it helped that I had a dance and gymnastics background, because I had a lot more body awareness, so I learned how to pick up tricks a lot faster compared to someone that has absolutely no background and is just starting this for the first time. So it is really hard not to compare yourself to others, but you just have to remember that everyone's in their own journey and everyone's experience is different. And some people have injuries, some people have, like I said, more of a like aerial experience. They've tried other stuff that are very similar to pole. So it's just something to keep in mind, not to compare yourself to others, but I also get it, it's hard. The good part about pole, the positives of it, I absolutely love it, so I feel like I will be very biased about this. So I'm just going to like name the stuff that could be a positive thing for anyone, not just me. The good thing about pole is that I feel like it gives you a lot of confidence. You obviously get a lot of body awareness, not just how you look, but how you move, and you kind of start learning what your body does for you. It definitely is a confident booster. There is not one class that I haven't come out of where I don't feel good about myself. Yes, I have bad days. I do have bad days in pole where I don't hit anything, but we end with freestyle every time. And freestyle just kind of, I think that's what really helps boost your confidence. It's just like, it feels good. It makes you feel good. There's a lot of dopamine released during that time. So it's a confident booster. Those heels, I am on top of the world with those heels. I am taller than my enemies in those heels. What enemies? I don't know, but I definitely do feel like it's a confidence booster. It has made me feel a lot better about myself. Along with being a confidence booster, a lot of it comes from having a very encouraging community. A lot of these people that are in pole with you are going through very similar feelings. So if you feel a little bit insecure, someone else is feeling insecure alongside with you, but you're cheering each other on, because for some reason it's hard to cheer yourself on, but it's very easy to cheer other people on. Why? I don't know, but it's a very encouraging community. For me, my studio is very encouraging, very friendly with everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, they're very open and very friendly with everyone. And lastly, it's just an amazing way to move your body and to express yourself. It's a very unique hobby. I'm going to call it a sport. It's a very unique sport. If all you want is to move your body a little bit more, you could definitely do that in pole. You don't have to be doing aerial all the time. In fact, you don't even have to do aerial. You could just do floor work. You could just dance. It doesn't have to be all tricks and stuff. It's a very fun way to express yourself. It's not for everyone. I will say this, it's not for everyone. Some people try it and don't like it, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Some people try it and love it. Let's see if I could do a speed round because my camera died from it being too hot. My goal for pole is to to get better. I want to improve my technique a lot more, make my pieces flow a lot better. So that's definitely a goal of mine. One big goal that I have for pole is that I want to perform and I want to be able to make my own choreos. I have a lot of ideas that I want to try out, but I can't until I perfect some techniques because I don't want to injure myself. I definitely want to get to that point where things just flow better and my technique is a lot better, my tricks are a lot better. So it's just basically kind of improving and making things flow a lot better so I can actually start dancing and performing a little bit more, because that's something that I really miss. I miss performing. A maybe goal, I don't know how I'll feel about it later, but I kind of want to compete maybe one day. Not anytime soon. I don't think I'm ready. I'll be ready anytime soon, but I don't know, maybe just once, just to see if I can do it. This is what it was when I did my marathon. I just wanted to do it once to see if I can do it. That's how I feel with pole. I want to do it once. This is not going to become like a pole channel. I'm not going to do a journey about it. I'm just going to do maybe little shorts on YouTube, and I do have a TikTok that I hardly ever use, but I think I might just use my TikTok to like record my progress basically. So if y'all are interested, I guess you can follow me here. But overall, any more updates for my strengthening journey? I will not be consistently continuing the series. I haven't been for over a year and a half. I don't feel the need to look for another challenge just yet, but maybe eventually down in a few years or so I might want to do something else. I might want to give an update about pole, but at least now there's always room for improvement and there's always room for growth. But I feel like I'm in such a much better mind space. Don't get me wrong, I have very dark moments. I have moments where I hate my body. I have moments when I wish I was smaller, when I wish I was more petite like I used to be, but for now I have grown and improved so much from that girl from the very first video. I'm very excited to be at this point in my life. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to be consistently updating the series, but you never know what I post next about my strengthening journey. But I think I'm gonna end it here. We'll see when I update again. If you want to try pole, or if you've tried pole, I mean, leave a comment down below. I'm so curious to see what other people's stories are. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. I don't usually make this kind of content. I make more reading and vlog style content. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I had so much fun sharing my journey with you all. This is not a goodbye to this, but definitely a break from this. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.